And now Darth Maul. Let's check this guy out. Really been looking forward to this guy. Not only do we get Maul, we get several pose options, and we get these droids. Let's find out what this guy does. So let's get into the box nice and quick. Instructions, flight stance, Sprue for, I presume, the droids, Maul himself, and let's have a quick look at this. So we've got his cardboard. Unlike the Anakin model that we've recently unboxed, this one has an absolute load of new things on it. So there's going to be a lot of rules for us to unpack and to work out how these impact the game. We have our unit cards for Maul, for his droids, and they are 1, 2, and 3 command cards. Noticing straight away we've got 2 1-pips, and we have an array of command cards, some of which are new ones that we've only seen in this one and Anakin. The flight stands aren't any different to what we've been seeing with all our now flying units. 4 bases. Some pretty reasonably solid instructions. So I'm getting a weird shadow there. I think I'm too close to my light. And see if the droids are all the same. And you'll be glad to know a rules reference showing you all the different things that are in here that we might not have seen before, might not be aware of. So this is the sprue for the droids. It's really hard to get a feel for what they're going to look like when they're assembled. I know we've seen a picture, but given that they're in so many small parts, it's going to be hard to call it out. So I think we'll just need to come back and take a close look when this has been assembled. The Maul model looks great. When we look at his tunic or whatever, really kind of flowing, looks like it's moving a lot, and as I move it through the light you can see the highlights being caught out, which is really nice. I'm looking forward to that. So many options with his arms, I'm not even sure where to begin. But with his face, now again, I didn't realise we were going to get 2 options here, but we've got a kind of quite a passive looking Maul there, where you're just looking dead ahead, and then you've got this grimacing, you know, the in combat Maul, which I've got to be honest with you, off the bat I will be going for that one. But it's really nice. Let me try to get this right into the camera. You might be able to see it, you might not. But can you see how there's ridges all over his face? So I know I've got the horns and the eyes and what have you. But what I mean is the kind of colourful red and black that you get on Maul's face. This isn't something you're going to have to paint on by hand. Well, of course you are, but you don't have to just freehand it. They've put in raised sections. So let me get right up close. There we go. So that's going to make painting his face for people like me who are not great painters that much easier. Really impressive stuff. That's so good. Check out Maul. Now this, I think, has got to be a contender for the best model I have seen to date. The expression on his face, the movement, it looks like it is a snapshot from the film, but not in a really lifeless way. This is incredibly done, and it was nice to have so many options. You could have had, you know, the saber either way. You could have gone nuts and had like the double saber if you ever fancied being an absolute lunatic. The face captures the image so well from the film, and I'm really, really pleased with that. And there's detail on they didn't need to do, like they've got these chevrons on the shoes, which might have been a production design thing, but I never noticed it. But they did, and it looks great. One thing I did notice is this, you got this kind of front skirt bit. Let me try to take this off. It's only blue tacked on, so I can paint it. Now, I wasn't sure actually if it was better without it, to be honest with you. But I guess that maybe that looks makes him look like he's defending, where when this is on, it looks like he's kind of spinning around and twirling and whirling, which you've got a bit of an option there. That's probably not something that was intended to be included, but for a while I was like, what the heck's this? How do I manage to use it? And then realised eventually, after I thought about it for more than a second. But yeah, I think that gives a little extra degree of movement in his pose, which is obviously static, but it really captures the movement. Dead nice stuff. So these are our Pro Droids, and they are simple, but they look exactly like the film. Here's a close-up of one of them. Very simple models, nice detail. One thing to say, there's like 4 or 5 pieces to this. There's the one side and another. There's the inside piece, which is this thin piece with the kind of centre eye, and there's this side here. It's so easy to get this centerpiece the wrong way around, and then essentially that means that this side piece is on wrong and it just doesn't look right. Now, I'm only pointing that out because I got one of them right and two of them wrong and had to pull them apart and put them back together. So just dry fit, don't make the mistake I did. But other than that, dead easy to put together, a really nice mini. It should be easy to paint. And I don't know, if any of you guys played Portal 2, because all I'm seeing is that weird little crazy AI unit now when I'm looking at that. So if I had more money than sense, I'd be half tempted to paint it like that. But for the time being, these guys will get a simple black spray with some red details on the sensors, and I'm sure they'll look great. So here's Darth Maul's card. He is 160 points, so we're seeing consistency against Anakin, and looks like a pretty solid mini to be playing. So let's go around and discuss what he is. Now this guy is an operative, let's not forget that. He has 6 health and 3 resilience, and he rolls red defense dice. Again, no surge either way, defensive or offensive. He's got the movement speed of 2. I guess that's to be expected at this point. The weapon that he wields is 4 red and 4 white, so we are going to see some variance in there. Who knows how that'll play out? That could be really, really interesting. White dice can sometimes giveth and taketh away, but we'll see. But he's got impact 2 and pierce 2. Now, in terms of his upgrades on the left side, he also has 2 training upgrades and 2 force upgrades, so there's quite a reasonable combination that you can build into Maul here, which is nice to see. Now, in terms of his keywords, jump 1, we kind of know what that is by now. This is when you do a speed 1, you can do a jump to the height the height of 1, fairly straightforward. Now, Maul has Deflect. This is your standard Deflect, nothing fancy here. So when defending, if you spend a dodge token, you gain Surge to block. If it is a ranged attack, the attacker suffers 1 wound for each surge rolled. So pretty good in terms of if you rolled, a hot load of garbage and essentially just had a load of surge tokens, by spending your dodge, you would essentially be able to block all of those, and for every 1 converted, that's a mini down. So that's different to what Anakin had. The difference is here, this only works if it's a ranged attack, not a melee attack. So it's just some subtle differences. Immune Pierce, so Pierce can't be used against him, that's fine. And do your mastery. So when you're wounded, you can perform 1 additional action during your activations, limited to 2 move actions. So this isn't going to give you the extra attack action, so it's not relentless and it's not charge, but it does give you the ability to move, attack, or to, aim, dodge, attack. So essentially you have got a lot of options here. And essentially it's just supposed to reflect that you are channeling into your anger. That's what the RRG says, and it enables you to put more into what you're doing so you can push yourself further. Unfortunately, that doesn't appear to include an additional attack action, which is a shame, because I would have thought with the speed he defended himself against Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn in the films, and that double lightsaber, that we would have seen that. Hey, but who knows what will happen down the line. So here we have the Sith probe droids. These are going to be a really interesting development to the game, and everything about these is unusual and different, so there's going to have to be a good degree of unpacking what this card is. So let's start off with some of the simple stuff. So this is a 3 mini unit, and well, you've seen there's 3 of them, so we know that, but it is a special forces. So that is another interesting development here. We've got an operative and a special force to go with it. They're 1 health per mini, and they've got a resilience value of 1. They roll white defense dice, but they do surge both on attack and defensively, and they move at speed 2. So that's fine. They should be kind of moving at your regular foot soldier kind of pace. They shouldn't be lagging behind or charging ahead. Now, their attack is suppressive, which is great. So just a reminder, not only will you get 1 suppression token, you'll get a second. So that's pretty good. So that's going to hopefully deny some activations for some units they're targeting. But their weapon is an Electro Stun Micro Blaster, whatever that is, which is both melee and range 1 to 2, and it's 2 white dice. So just very quickly, let's remember that there's 3 minis, so that's actually for when you're full health. That is 6 white dice, surge to hit with suppressive. I like that a lot. I really do like that. I wish I had more than 1 more, because I would like to have a few of these. These look like they could be a lot of fun. And along the left, they only have 1 upgrade, so they can have a single comm slot, and they're 35 points, which I think is great. I really like that. So let's talk then about their keywords. So these have observe 3. So it's an action, so choose an enemy unit at range 1 to 3 and in line of sight. It gains 3 observation tokens. So let's talk then about what an observation token is. During an attack, the attacker can spend observation tokens belonging to the defender, re-rolling 1 attack dice for each observation token. Observation tokens are removed at the end of each round. So essentially, if you're going to do the observe, you've got to make it count, because otherwise they won't be hanging around for the next time. But you as the attacker can re-roll your attacks. So it's something. It's maybe like the old. If you ever played X-Wing, the target lock. So essentially, if your enemy's got one of these, it enables you to re-roll the attack dice. At least that's how I'm going to think of it, but it's not a bad way to do it. Interesting though, it doesn't seem like you are limited in and how you do this, in terms of you will choose an enemy unit, but you can re-roll as many as you want to. So that's quite interesting. So it seems like any unit that's going to attack that could get the benefit of it. Okay, moving on. So it's detachment to Maul. So this means when you place Maul on the battlefield, so he's going down anywhere within range 1 to 3 of Maul. These guys, 1 to 2 rather. These guys have to be placed, which is perfectly fine. That's quite a big area for them to be placed in. Okay, moving on. So they are a hover air 1. So this is the first time we're seeing air 1. So whilst moving, ignore terrain. That's height 1. Functionally works the same as a speeder, but they don't get the cover benefit that speeders do, because they're clearly a slower vehicle. And lastly, incognito. Enemy units beyond range 1 cannot attack you unless you have attacked, defended against an enemy attack, or performed an objective action, which is fantastic. And I just want to point out, observe is an action, not an attack. So it seems to me that you can really support your troops, and if as long as these guys are staying outside of range 1, and that observe action is range 1 to 3, they can be helping plough some observation tokens onto a unit to make it weaker for attacks, and really be kind of brought to the ground and stay relatively safe. Yeah, I really like the look of these. Okay, let's move on and look at the cards we get. Jumping in, interrupting this video just to remind you that I do have competition to win yourself one of the limited edition Luke Skywalkers, so please check out the video where I unbox this model and I talk about how you can win it. So we have 3 different cards to be picking from here for your training upgrade. You've got Offensive Push, so you can spend this card to gain Tactical 1, so after you perform a standard move, gain 1 aim token. Not bad at all for Maul. He will really benefit from having those aim tokens. I like that a lot. Seize the Initiative, we're now seeing this again for the second time. This is an exhaustible one, so once spent it's gone. That's what the X means. Can only go to operatives or commanders, which is fortunate because he's an operative. And during the issue order steps of the command phase, issue an order to yourself. So like I've said before, it's a half-point comms link upgrade, which is, or HQ uplink upgrade rather, which is fantastic for Maul because he is going to want to get in the thick of things. And lastly, we've got offensive defensive stance. We've been through this now. On one side, you can take 2 aim tokens but can't spend defensive tokens. On the other side, you can take 2 defense tokens but can't spend any aim tokens. So it can be quite good for somebody like Maul. I think given he doesn't surge upwardsly, you might want to take those aim tokens, particularly if you're trying to get some more mileage out those white dice. But he does have deflect, so he might also want to have the dodge token. So who knows? However, we might find that it might compel you to give him something like force reflexes as a force power. Okay, let's move on. So these are his force upgrades. He's got 2 of these. So you've got a whole choice that come with Maul, which is great. We've got force choke. So again, choosing as a free action a non-commander, non-operative unit and essentially squeeze the life out of it, which is great if you're trying to pick off a pesky unit, or if it's just a 1 squad hanging in there for dear life and you just want to give yourself some action control. Fear gives you demoralize 1. So like Inspire, it gives you the ability to, after your rally step, do something with tokens. In this case, instead of taking suppression off a friendly, you're going to give it to an enemy at range 1 to 2, which is pretty good for activation control. Next up, we've got Anger. So when he takes a wound, you get aim tokens, which is great for somebody like Maul, who doesn't have a native way to get access to those to the surges or what have you, and he's got the white dice, so you might really rely upon them. And lastly, We've got another one which requires you to recover. We've got the Force Barrier for 10 points, is meaty, but this enables you to, during the defense stage from one of your minis, you can flip this card to cancel 2 hits or a crit, and that is during their defense, not yours. So that is fantastic. I love that card, and it's going to become a mainstay, I think, on our Force users going forwards. And we also have a comms upgrade, just the one that comes with it. This is the comms jammer. Don't worry about it being 15 points, I believe it's 5 now. And enemy units at range 1 cannot be issued orders unless they are issuing an order to themselves. So this is pretty good and might work well in conjunction with Maul's 1 pip, which gives him the ability to infiltrate. Okay, so we're now talking command cards. I usually start lowest pip here with 3s, but Maul only has a 2 pip, and then there's a 2 is a 1 pip, so interesting. So this is the Phantom Menace. It's an order to Maul and 1 trooper. And one thing I didn't point out before, that those droids are also troopers. They're droid troopers, but I just didn't point that out. And this card says Maul cannot attack. Enemy units beyond range 2 of Maul cannot attack him. And this also has the wording of divulge. So during the deploy unit setup, Maul gains infiltrate. During the first round, Maul and a friendly infiltration droid, Sith probe, cannot perform objective actions, and you discard this card after it is revealed. So this gives you the ability to infiltrate Maul and his droids in, which is great. I really like that. And with divulge, just to remind you that at the start of the deploy unit setup, you may reveal this card for its specific game effect. So there we go, you've got the ability to kind of put that down and to infiltrate. And now for the first of its 1 pips, this is At Last, just an order for Maul. When building the command hand, treat this card as if it was 3 pips. Interesting. Maul gains 1 aim token and Jedi Hunter. When he activates, he may suffer 1 wound. So to remind you, Jedi Hunter means that when you're attacking a unit with the Force upgrade icon, doesn't have to have an upgrade fitted, but the icon, you gain Surge to crit. Pretty tasty stuff. And we also have 1 pip, Duel of the Fates. This is, again, just for Maul. Maul gains 1 dodge token and disengage. While Maul is engaged with an enemy unit, that unit cannot spend aim tokens, dodge tokens, standbys, or surges. That is amazing. And disengage is great, but in all fairness, that isn't the title here. So as a reminder, disengage means you can withdraw essentially without having to spend both your activations to do it, both your actions rather. In this case, you can move back and still do something else, which is great. But the good thing is, when he's engaged with an enemy unit, that can't spend aim, dodge, stamp. I mean, that is going to hurt so much against other Jedi. That is going to be such an impactful one. Okay, so to be clear, I'm no CIS player, so I'm not going to be the expert on this by any stretch of the imagination. But in terms of what I think I'd like to run more with when I get a chance, I think I'd like to run in with these probe droids, and I think they would go well with having the comms jammer. I think there's a good chance that if you're going to be using the Phantom Menace, the 2 pip card to enable you to infiltrate, having that is going to be really useful because it's going to help give you a degree of activation control. So hopefully, if you end up with somebody near you, they can't just get the jump on you. It's only range 1, so who knows, but that tends to be my thoughts, and I quite like the idea of Maul and his droids being in the thick of things to begin with. Now, looking at Maul himself, I've gone all out with this guy. Now, I've started with Saber Throw. This will mean that you are going to throw, essentially because you get to throw half the dice of your attack pool. So you're going to throw your 4 red dice. You're not going to throw any of those white dice. So that makes it an incredibly powerful attack, given that it's range 1 to 2, and typically it usually feels like something not great throwing your lightsaber. This is going to feel brilliant, frankly. I also like the idea of giving him anger, because there's no way to get around it. He's going to be taking hits. He's going to be getting shot at a lot. So this kind of makes him more effective by being shot at in some regards. Now, also on the same side of things, I think we're having an offensive stance, because he doesn't, I know he's got deflect, but I just don't think that you're going to be wanting to sacrifice the aim tokens to kind of really get the most out of your white dice in the place of dodge tokens. So I think I'd want to have him with offensive stance, so he's going to be getting an awful lot of aim tokens for his money. I like that a lot. And also, let's just remind ourselves with anger and the synergy between the Juyo Mastery. So if he's wounded, he'll be getting that aim token, and he'll also be getting that extra additional action, which could be great. And lastly, we've got seize the initiative. Now, I'm not as sure about this one, but given that he's got his kind of a weird selection of command cards with a kind of a faux 3 pip and a 2 pip that requires you to divulge it, there's going to be a limited amount of times where he will get an order for himself at a time when you really need him to. So I think for the 5 points, it might be exhaustible, but I think we're more, that is something he's going to want to have. So I quite like that, if I'm honest with you. I'm not sure how well do, because it might be that you end up doing the Phantom Menace kind of deployment, and he kind of infiltrates, that he could just get picked off the board. So unless you've got something, say your stat riders, to kind of fly up to kind of give him some cover, he might find himself focused down. However, I like the idea of that. It feels synergistic, it feels thematic, and I'm looking forward to giving it a go. This is going to be something I'll enjoy trying out, and I am so thankful that when they did this, that they gave idiots like me who can't paint save their life ridges on his head, so you can actually paint them rather than having to freehand it, because I am not capable of doing that. Okay, that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for sticking around, guys. See you around.